No, how I am is serene, at ease, at peace, calm, steady, empty, open, pure, content, perfectly content. I am the witnessing of all perceiving, including the perceptions of all contending and all contentiousness and all contention. I am the witnessing of the operating of language. I am witness to the contrast between being content and being contentious, like intense and tense and stressing a point. However, to say being contentious is actually a new labeling of some other distinct activity or process as the contentious activity or process or behavior. The new labeling of something else as contentious is itself a distinct activity or process, the process of labeling. I can witness the arising of the activity of labeling in language, such as the labeling of contending and contentiousness and contention and tension and being content and I and serene and calm and steady and relaxed and open and pure and perfect and so on and on. Labeling can happen. So contending is something that I can witness, or something that can be witnessed. Contending is also something that I can do. How can I do the activity of contending? I can label something as contending or contentious or contention. That labeling of something as contending or contentious or contention could be contrasted with me as the one who claims to be content. However, without the operating of language, is there a labeling of a someone who claims to be content, in contrast to some process of contending, some activity of contention and tension and contentiousness, some pattern of combativeness and divisiveness, some claiming of discontent? Discontent is over there, says the operating of language, and I am over here, the content one, witnessing that discontentiousness, or whatever, over there. I'm the one labeling that thing that is labeled by me. That's one of the things that language can say. So witnessing the operating of language, I'm contrasting the labeling of content with the labeling of discontent and contentiousness and contending. When the operating of language is present as the labeling of something as contentious, is there also an operating of language present as the labeling of someone who simply is serene and content? When the language of contentiousness is present, or not, or is, or not, or should be, or really could be, or not, is there also a contending against that language of contentiousness, which should not be, or should be, or possibly must be? Is there a process of claiming to be someone who is content, in contrast to the something which is labeled as the contentiousness or the contending, the wrong way to be, the thing that should not be. When I am simply being content, I can be content, even with contentiousness. The operating of the language of contentiousness can be or not, should be or not, must be or not, needs to be or not. And either way, in any of those cases, no one even needs to be claimed as being the one who is content with any of that or not. When the witnessing of the operating of language is happening without any additional identifying of someone who exists in contrast to that observed operating of language, then perhaps all that is happening is that operating of language. However, when the witnessing of the operating of language is happening, including a specific additional distinct identifying of a someone who exists and who labels their existence or being in a stark contrast to contentiousness that is labeled as external to them, that is still just the operating of language. So to paraphrase an ancient Zen koan, or paradox, or riddle, or mystery, consider that when a tree falls in a remote, isolated, abandoned forest, but there's no one there to ask whether or not a tree has fallen, then all that has been happening in the asking of the question is the operating of what? Now, what am I except for the operating of language? Now, the operating of language is serene, at peace, at ease, calm, steady, excited, empty, open, pure, content, aroused, relaxed, depressed, elated, sad, happy, contentious, pure, content, unholy, shameful, contending, contrasting, labeling, operating, witnessing, simply being. Or not. Be still and know the kingdom of heaven within. Simply remain as you are already. By the way, faith is the fruit of being in heaven already. Striving to get faith, as well as striving to be perceived as having faith or as being faithful, is the height of agonizing and vanity and idolatry, this worshipping of the idea or concept of faith. It's heresy. It's blasphemy against the spirit of grace, the holy way of being, the Holy Spirit, the holy or heavenly or middle way. Striving is also required in order to be clear about the absence of the behavior of striving.